We all know this. But in all the buzz and excitement of it all, have you ever stopped to consider how the technology actually works? You literally just push a button and an algorithm goes and finds the nearest driver to you so that you can have the fastest response time possible. And that's great. But are you always in that much of a hurry? Is there never a time where you would like to wait maybe 5 extra minutes for a driver that you trust to be able to choose your driver on demand? Or maybe give 30 or 40 minutes advance notice to a favorite driver that you can rely on, who maybe knows the side streets better? And what about when your phone is almost dead, or you're thirsty, or traveling with small children? Wouldn't you like to be able to maybe hone in on the drivers who have a child seat, or a bottle of water, or your type of phone charger? Of course you would. But the current technology doesn't do that because the drivers are kept anonymous from you. They're hidden. And an algorithm, therefore, has to choose a driver based on his own set of priorities, not yours. My name is Jeff with J&E Private Drivers. This is my partner Dak with Paradise Limos. And together we're on a mission to help you escape the algorithm. To do that, we have a new platform called Bluecar that puts all the control of the system directly into the end user's hands. Now, as a professional driver myself, I know a lot about the laws and regulations of this industry, and I can tell you, licensed professionals have some really nice perks, like exemption from the open container law. And for that reason, along with many others I don't have time to get into, we've decided to make Bluecar for the luxury class and for professional drivers. That means we're competing directly against Uber Black and Lyft Lux, but we're not really competing so much against the lower cost price point, okay? So let me show you how this works. At the top of the screen there, you see the box called Favorites. That box is a scrollable container that holds all of your favorite drivers. So it's kind of like an electronic Rolodex. So as you go and you meet drivers you want to be able to reconnect with, you just tag their accounts and they show up here for easy reconnection. Tapping on one of their profiles lets you send a direct text message and a request for service all in one go, whether on demand, up to 90 minutes in the future, even pre-scheduled. Now, if none of your favorites are available, you can tap into the network of a favorite driver. So Bluecar lets us network with each other too, locally and abroad. And if you like me, you'll probably like the people that I trust most in this industry as well. Or you can network with friends and family and choose one of theirs, like an instant referral. Now, if you're brand new to Bluecar and you don't have a favorite driver yet, you can use the bottom half of the screen. And that's, you just make sure to adjust the default settings as needed and hit search drivers. When you do, you'll see not just a few drivers, but a comprehensive list of all of them that are online right now in your area. You'll see their name and picture, the company they work for, the vehicle they're driving, and their estimated response time. And you get to pick whoever you want based on what's most important to you. Now, if you're looking for something specific, you can even use the filter at the top to find those unique selling points. That's where you find the water, the phone charger, the child seat, maybe the daily newspaper, or free beer. You can even filter that by gender. So if any of you ladies would like to maybe feel more comfortable riding with a female driver when you're traveling alone, by all means, check and see if it's available. Now, as cool as all of these features are, there's actually a strategic purpose behind giving all of this control to the end user. And it's because we're trying to solve a problem that has never been solved before in this industry, and that is market instability. Being part of the consumer side of the equation, maybe you all don't know this, maybe you don't even care, and that's okay, but the fact of the matter is the driver turnover rate in this industry is pretty disconcerting. These companies are spending billions of dollars per year to acquire drivers, and still they have to put out huge incentives on top of that just to get them to log in so that you can have a ride when you need one. Nobody's figured out how to turn a profit in this industry because all of the revenue is going right back into keeping the system pumping. And therefore, it's not a sustainable industry. But it can be. It definitely can be. In the last 4 years of my life, I've done a lot of research on this, and I've figured out that there are two things missing that would make this industry not just sustainable, but incredibly profitable. One of those is customer choice, which we've talked about almost exclusively so far. The other one is what customer choice creates. A much better opportunity for drivers. 80 to 90% of a driver's time, an app driver's time online, is downtime, that blue section. It's time spent alone in the car, away from their families, and unpaid because they're on straight commission, while they're still racking up operating costs as they drive around. Their lives more resemble an entrepreneur or business owner than anything else, except for the fact that unlike anyone in this room, They can't control their upside. They have all the risk and cost, but the algorithm distributes the business as it pleases. So what do you think is going to happen when these entrepreneurs, when these people suddenly have an opportunity to triple, quadruple, quintuple their business by reducing their downtime? And all they have to do to get that is to provide an experience that a wider range of people want to choose. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. You all know the 80-20 principle, right? 80% of the drivers are probably going to say, that's too much work, I don't care. But 20%, they're going to take this and run with it. And they're not going to stop until they own about a 60 to 80% share of the total available market. So to wrap this up, the gig economy is not successful. It's a failed experiment that only looks successful because of the billions that are going into propping it up. And my prediction is that the career economy is actually going to be the next big thing. And I predict that career professionals and career-minded people are going to be the ones to take huge portions of the gig economy once they have the technology to do that.
That was awesome. So in the next 20 minutes, what can the 1 Million Cups community do for you?
Of course, that question. Well, good question. So the reason I came here today is actually to get your input and feedback, because if you were to download Bluecar right now from the App Store, you actually wouldn't see the product I presented. You would see our minimal viable product, which is the one on the right. So to get from the one on the right to the one on the left, we have a long road ahead of us, a very expensive road. And so we need to be careful to prioritize which upgrades come first. So what I want to know from you all is, based on the product I presented, which features did you find most appealing, that struck you the most, or maybe I was dancing around one that I didn't say, and you said, man, if it did that, I would use this. So those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. I'm going to make notes about what you say so that we can kind of rearrange our roadmap.
Awesome. Okay. Robbie?
So you're saying that you want all the features that you just said. What are your priority features that we would like with what you just said, correct?
So right now, the one on the right is basically customer choice on demand.
Okay.
You can pick your driver. There's no saving favorites. There's no prearranging. There's no 20, 30 minutes advance notice. Things like that. So you can choose your driver on demand. That's it. So where do we go from here?
The number one feature that really struck me from traveling with my sister, who travels all over the world with her now 1-year-old little daughter, is being able to request the certain things in the car, like the car seat. That would be huge.
Amenity-based filter. Got it. Cool. So of course, I want your feedback, but also ask me anything, okay? So I'm gonna open the book. Go ahead.
I like all that. Chargers, water, car seats. I think one that might become popular in the future would be like eco-friendly car. Like, are you driving an electric car? And people might actually be encouraged to do business with drivers that use, flex fuel or whatever.
Sure. Actually, in the current version, it shows the vehicle make and model, and if someone's on a Tesla, you can obviously pick that one. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So my first question is, one, so are these people who own luxury cars and then are deciding to drive them?
No, we're actually the first platform that's focusing strictly on the professional market. So these are limousine services, black car services, people that have independent licensing from the city, and so they're not relying on our licensing and insurance. They have their own, and yeah.
And so my second question with that is, I would also present the opportunity to those drivers to help them build their own fleet or team. So you have a driver who's been doing it for a while, and he's talking to other drivers that he knows, and he says, hey, like, join my team. I thought about this strategy on who we're gonna target and how we're gonna get them to keep coming back to us, and present it as almost a business opportunity for them to even get residual income from their drivers as well as what they're making from their drivers.
Absolutely. In 6 minutes, I can only present the customer side of things, but there's a different presentation for drivers, and you're on target. Yes, sir.
So, in our area, rideshare apps are kind of an important thing. We have taxis, but we don't have that necessarily culture of using limo drivers and taxis and so on. But as opposed to somewhere like Manhattan, I have two guys that I always call when I go in town in New York, and I don't know if they're limo drivers, I don't know if they're even cab drivers, but I give them money, they're very quick, and they wait for me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So how can you bridge that gap here in Dallas-Fort Worth? I presumably that's where you're centered. Is it a national operation yet? Where you can start to, I mean, is it just based on relationship? Because I do like those guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I haven't talked to one of Jaleel. I haven't talked to him in a year, but I promise you, when I land, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be here, you know, whatever, and he's there.
Yeah.
So how do you bridge that gap?
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to build. And in the future versions, you know, where you have the electronic Rolodex, the favorites list, and that's going to keep those profiles there, so that if you do spend a year or 2 years away, you can see that they're available. And you can see one guy is offline right there. You can actually, because he's a favorite, he stays in your Rolodex, and you can even schedule with him in that later version. To answer the question, how do we bridge that gap? I may be misunderstanding your question, or I've just not presented a clear message, because that's what I think we're doing is bridging that gap exactly.
I think even in the MVP, there's an opportunity to invite drivers to the platform. Is that correct?
Yeah. You can absolutely. One of the big key selling points, you know, besides being exempt from the open container laws, drivers with their own licensing, they have their own licensing, and that's a huge advantage for us, because you know, when Uber grew, they had to go into a city, establish an office, have a registered agent, and do business in that state, because the drivers were contractors for them. With us, the drivers are their own independent entity. So we can launch tomorrow, for example, and you can have a favorite driver in New York and say, hey, have you heard about Bluecar? And they'll be the only driver on there, but they can operate on our platform with their own licensing. So when we are ready to go nationwide, it'll happen fast.
Nice.
Roger, and then the young lady in the back.
So how do you plan to scale?
This is going to be how do I put this without making myself sound bad? This is going to be kind of like direct sales, not multi-level, but this is going to go through the driver networks. The limo industry is, you know, comparable to Uber Black, right? These guys are career professionals. They've got networks within the city and abroad, and we can use those networks to go through to branch out. And from there, we have incentives for the drivers to go get their own customers. It's like real serious long-term incentives, like revenue share, long-term ownership of the business that a customer does, etc. So when we do scale, it'll be kind of a partnership between the drivers getting their own customers and us assisting that with broad-scale marketing.
So on the app, and you say that, you know, people can see the make and model of the vehicle and who the driver is. Are they also going to show how much their rates are? So if they have, you know, a limousine or a Tesla or, you know, whatever it may be, or based on the experience that a driver has, maybe they charge more. I mean, is there a way for them to see what their rates are? And also the ability, I would assume they're paying through the app as well?
They are paying through the app. You know, Uber and Lyft kind of blazed the trail, and they did a lot of right things. I just think they used the wrong business model as far as customer choice or not customer choice. So we're adopting everything they did right, which is to use one platform across the country to set a standardized rate so that customers always pay the same per vehicle class. And since this is all luxury, it's just going to be based on the number of people in your group. So for the on-demand side of it, there won't be any individual setting of prices. The drivers who just don't have the nice enough vehicles, they'll just have to make up for it by being extra professional and knowing the side streets and shortcuts and providing other values to earn your business. So yeah, one standardized price for on-demand. When it comes to scheduling, they will have the opportunity to set their own pricing, and that will be based on the relationship. So they'll give us the formula, and the app will calculate it when you put in your destination in the scope of work. So, yes.
Courtney and then,
Okay.
Cam.
Do you have data on how many licensed drivers there are?
50,000 in the US, 2,000 in Dallas Fort Worth.
Cameron and then Dan.
So I would say that the reason that Uber and Lyft have worked is because in general you have supply meeting demand, right? I need a car to take me home from the bar, and there's an Uber that's 2 minutes away.
Right.
With your platform, do you think that supply is going to be able to meet demand on a regular basis? And I'll ask it in a different way, which is you as Jeff, the driver with J&E Drivers, can only take one person to DFW. You can't take someone to Love Field at the exact same time. So how do you solve that problem?
Well, your primary plan is to find your favorite driver. Your backup plan is to use anyone else on the platform. And of course, plan C, and I hate to say this, is the current options. So I want to move the plan A down to plan C, and that's really the goal. It's not to put these guys out of business. They're not going to go out of business. They're extremely well funded. We just want to take the luxury section of the market and kind of pull it away from them. So take over the Uber Black and leave them with the high volume mass transit system they're building.
Dan.
That's fine.
Yeah, you may or may not be aware, you can do something a little bit similar to what you're doing here on TaskRabbit. They actually have drivers on there, and they favorite the driver, they set their own rates, you can find out about them, they have a little bio profile and all that sort of thing. So it's a good something to look into. I don't think they're going to be a massive competitor for you. Most people get on TaskRabbit to have someone come build their IKEA furniture for them.
Sure. Yeah, I found TaskRabbit. Yeah,
Roger.
definitely.
I think this is kind of what the gentleman here was asking is, like, say if I work Monday through Friday and I need a ride to and from work, I can go in and actually say, hey, I'm going to need a ride to and from work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Can I go in as a customer and schedule that with my favorites? And, it doesn't have to be if I have multiple favorites, can they kind of, hey, I can take him Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I can take him Tuesday and Thursday. So basically, can you schedule? I think this is what that gentleman was asking.
You're asking about whether there's a job board.
Yeah,
Basically,
pretty much.
you put it out there, and then you limit who can see it. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We don't have that planned to build into it, but that's definitely something we should consider. On the other hand, keep in mind this is luxury. So unless you're the executive, you're probably not going to want to pay the price to get to and from work that this would charge. It would be minimum of $18. So a 10-mile trip might cost you $30, $40.
Jeff, oh, sorry. Have you been able to quantify your potential user market? Since you say it's for executives and people that are willing to pay more.
Well, the executives are the ones who would probably use it to and from work in business meetings, but a lot of people, yeah, there's a pretty wide audience. Last year, Uber Black, for example, and Lyft Lux combined were about 8% of the market. So 92% of the market is going with the cheap option. 8% of the market is paying more for something a little more premium, and I think we can actually increase that with the relationship element of it. But what that comes out to is something in the ballpark of $1.4 billion a year as the addressable, as the serviceable, obtainable market that we have the opportunity to go after. So we're really looking at about acquiring a 3% share of the total market, high end, low end, and everything together in the next 4 years, which is $800 million a year by 2023, and that comes out to about 170 million in total gross revenue. So it sounds like a big goal, but it really is just a fraction of what's going on right now. So our goal is just to create that higher value proposition and go after our target audience and see what happens.
Okay, I have two questions. So number one, as far as marketing, how are you getting the word out that you're better than Uber Black or Lyft? And number two, you mentioned that your drivers have their own insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So are they getting their CDL or?
You're not required to have a CDL unless you're driving more than 15 people. So the private cars that hold 4, 6, 7 people, we just have limo permits, which to get a limo permit, all you need to do is have the commercial insurance, get a background check, pass a drug screen, and take a defensive driving course. So it's about 10 times more than an Uber driver, but it's not that hard.
Awesome.
It costs about $1,200 to get started, plus the vehicle.
And then your marketing?
Marketing is, honestly, I'm going to bring on a partner in about June who's going to handle most of the planning on marketing. But for now, it's through the drivers. We're giving drivers a 7.5% revenue share on every customer they bring in. So if I invite one person to the platform and they use the app anywhere in the country as we grow through any driver, that 7.5% will come back to that initial driver. So that's an enormous, potentially retirement type of opportunity, which most people in the service industry don't have a retirement plan. So this is a good opportunity for them to just take this and run with it. And that's the kind of entrepreneur we're looking for to be on our team.
This young lady and then you have
I was just gonna ask how you found the app now. I couldn't find it.
Couldn't search for Bluecar Rider. Bluecar is all one word. And we did a soft launch on New Year's Eve and found a few little key issues. The driver wasn't hearing the sound when the request was coming through, so we had to install push notifications to make that more reliable. And we're going to be relaunching here in a couple weeks. So once that's in the App Store, we'll do that.
Would there be training available for drivers that are looking to, because 50,000 in the United States and 2,000 in the DFW Metroplex that have these permits and licenses? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge thing, although you're looking at a really niche market also. But would you be looking to expand with drivers who are wanting to do this, train them, and then how would you retain them once they run? And would it? I mean, maybe it's a dumb question, but I think at some point you have to increase your offering in an area so that you can be in multiple places at one time.
Sure. That's a very challenging question, and I know there's we could do franchising opportunities for people to start a pocket of drivers in their own cities. But I think what you're asking is down the road when we actually get really big.
Sure.
You see it's kind of fuzzy, but you have Salfio Limo, J&E, SM, Paradise Limo. These are all individual brands, individual DBAs that are filed with the city. And so as the opportunity grows, if someone's really doing a good job, that's an opportunity for them to buy a new vehicle, create a new job, and train their own guy as they expand their own business.
I like that. So it's not on you to train it. You're acquiring an already successful organization.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really the difference between us and like a direct sales company. We're not going after people to train them. We're going after people that are already ambitiously every day handing out business cards, trying desperately to earn your business, but a paper business card just isn't doing it because a majority of the market is shifting towards on-demand and apps.
1 minute, we have time for maybe one more question or comment. Cameron.
I just want to say we've seen you present several times, which I love. This gets better every time we see it, and I'm ready for you to go big. Like I want this to be the next big thing, Jeff. And I know you've had a rough road, pun intended there. But I'm just impressed with your perseverance, your stick-to-itiveness, and the fact that, like I said, every time we see it, it gets exponentially better. So we're all rooting for you.
Thank you very much. And again, Cameron, just to comment on that, I really think that the next big thing is the career economy. It's people that are intrinsically motivated to go after it. So thank you.
Awesome.